In 1975, a quiet town in Pennsylvania was forever changed when 8-year-old Gretchen Eleanor Harrington went missing on her way to a summer Bible school camp. This mysterious disappearance shattered the community's sense of safety and remained an unsolved case for nearly 5 decades. However, in 2023, a shocking revelation would bring long-awaited answers and closure to a case that haunted the town of Marple Township for generations. Hi, and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, as it helps us motivate to create more intriguing content for you. Let's have a look at the oldest cold case, finally solved in 2023 after 48 years. On June 13, 1967, Gretchen Eleanor Harrington was born in the small Pennsylvanian hamlet of Marple Township. She was Harold Boyd Harrington and Ina Cover Harrington's cherished daughter. Gretchen was the sister of 3 women, Jessica, Anne, and Zoe. The girls grew up in a loving and supportive family with their siblings, so their strong relationship and encouragement certainly had a significant impact on Gretchen's development as a person and the creation of treasured memories. Harold Harrington, her father, was a priest who worked his whole life with different Reformed Presbyterian Church of North America congregations. Gretchen Harrington, who was 8 years old, left her home on 27 Lawrence Road in Broomall, Pennsylvania, on the morning of August 15, 1975. She had her Bible with her. 2 neighborhood churches shared the Trinity Church Chapel Christian Reformed Church building at 140 Lawrence Road, where she was going to summer Bible school camp. Every day, Zoe and Harriet walked a half-mile to camp. But on this day, her mother, Ina, was coming home with her new baby girl, Jessica. Zoe and Harriet would rather stay home and wait for them to get there. Gretchen had been going to Bible school every week, so Pastor Harrington told her to keep up her perfect attendance record. That meant Gretchen was by herself when her dad waved goodbye. Just after 9 a.m., she started her walk up the hill to the church. It was not uncommon for a child to walk alone in Marple on a sunny summer day. As it was the 1970s and the area was green, no one thought it was dangerous or risky. Outside, kids played many different games until all hours of the night. They played in the woods, on the streets, and at night. They did not care about anything as they chilled out in Darby Creek, which ran behind Gretchen's house. The kids walked to their friends' houses, which were several blocks away. They did not have cell phones or GPS watches to their parents. It was very safe in Marple. The kids got to the camp between 9 and 9:30 am, and Bishop David Zonster, the other leader, led them in morning exercise. Around 10 a.m., half of the kids were taken to the Reformed Presbyterian Church to spend the rest of the day there. Zonster was one of the people who had to take the kids somewhere. At 10:30, Gretchen's dad started to worry when she still had not shown up at the second church where he was. Harold started to look on Lawrence Road to see if Gretchen had dropped off or gone home. Harold called Zonster's wife, Margaret, who was at the Trinity Church, when he could not find Gretchen, to see if she was still there and to see if David Zonster knew if she had been taken to the other church. Margaret told Harold that her husband had come back to Trinity Chapel after taking the kids somewhere. He was on church grounds and had not seen Gretchen that day. The Harringtons and the Zonster lived close to each other, so they knew each other well. Both dads worked in the same field, and both moms were the usual pastors' wives. David had a daughter who was Gretchen's best friend. When David found out that Gretchen's dad was looking for her, he did what Harold Harrington asked and called the Marple Township Police Department to say that Gretchen was missing. The call came in at 11:23 am, and David told the police that Gretchen was an 8-year-old girl with blonde hair pulled back into pigtails. She was 3 feet 6 inches tall and weighed 50 pounds. She was wearing a white top and dark blue shorts with a zipper and snap in the front and pockets on each side of the front. That is a pretty full account from someone who did not see Gretchen that day. Gretchen was still missing as the sun went down just before 8 p.m. At the Harrington home, Margaret Zonster brought dinner. Ina, Gretchen's mother, seemed to be okay with the idea that she would never see her daughter alive again. Margaret remarked that it appeared as though she had accepted Gretchen's absence. She expressed uncertainty about whether this stemmed from true bravery or shock, leaning towards the latter. When Gretchen went missing, it shocked everyone in Broomall and Marple Township. A full-on fear set in among the people. 100 people were helping to look for Gretchen by Saturday. From above, a Pennsylvania State Police helicopter searched the area all the time. Family and friends started giving flyers to people driving by in the area. The flyers showed Gretchen's most current school picture, which showed her with a silly grin and a missing tooth. Speculation abounded, and many questions remained unsolved. Had she gotten away? Was she fatally wounded in a creek? Did someone else take her? Did she know that person? People and church members who looked for Gretchen, who was 8 years old, said that her loss made them lose faith that their community was safe. Gretchen went to the same Bible school as Karen Frank Zetterberg. The two were the same age and lived in the same close-knit neighborhood. Karen's mom took her to the hairdresser to get her hair cut really short so she would look like a boy after Gretchen went missing. She did not want her daughter's long hair to make her stand out. She also told Karen she could not walk alone to her piano classes or the swim club. He heard about the search on his police scanner while he was resting in his backyard pool. Paul Barton lived nearby in Newton Square. He recalled that after the search, there was an atmosphere of solemnity among the group. They had been unsure about what to anticipate or what they might come across during their search efforts. Despite their thorough exploration, they couldn't find anything, and not a single person in the group made any discoveries. On that Sunday, just 2 days after Gretchen went missing, the cops stopped their large-scale search. The police chief told a local newspaper, "We have not got a clue." The search groups did not find any useful clues. After Gretchen's death on August 17, 1975, the cops talked to many people over the next few weeks to finish the puzzle. As part of the study, the interviews began. Police talked to witnesses, camp teachers, students, and parents who gave them important information about the case. Seeing either a green station wagon or a light-top, dark-bottom Cadillac pull over to talk to a girl near the church was the most important piece of information. It was also said that the camp's daily schedule was thrown off on August 15th when the group at Trinity Church stayed 45 to 50 minutes longer than normal. On August 19th, a small pair of shorts were found on a fence post in Westchester, Pennsylvania. This changed the course of the probe. Police asked David to talk to them because he gave such a detailed description of Gretchen's shorts, even though he said he never saw her that day. The shorts found in Westchester were not Gretchen's in the end because she never got to camp. Investigators still did not understand how David knew such specifics about her shorts. When police talked to David on August 19th, he said that the day Gretchen went missing, he picked up some kids and drove them to church. He still said he had not seen her that day. A runner found body parts in Ridley Creek State Park on October 14th, 2 months after Gretchen went missing. The park is about 20 minutes from Gretchen's house. He was not sure what he had found at first until he saw what looked like a fingernail. He ran to get a park guard. According to her parents, the clothes that fit Gretchen's body were definitely hers. To dress the girl, Ina made the clothes by hand. The remains were those of a small person, and autopsy later showed that they were those of Gretchen Harrington. The aim of the dental records was to identify people. For the exam, Dr. Halbert Fillinger was responsible. His findings showed a cranial cerebral injury, and he said Gretchen had 2 or more blunt hits to her head, resulting in a depressed skull fracture, despite the fact that the autopsy did not reveal any signs of that. The police suspected she had also been sexually assaulted. The entire community was in mourning over the tragic loss of a promising young life following this heartbreaking discovery. Harold preached at church the Sunday after her body was found, stating that Gretchen had found freedom through her simple faith in Christ. He further remarked that the person responsible for her death was in terrible chains. There is unbearable evil in the world because people who know the truth but will not accept it are wicked. The new hubbub over the case began with the find in the woods. People who saw different kinds of guys in the area where Gretchen was found came forward to report them. The police got a lot of tips, some of which sounded very good and some of which were completely pointless. The police called David back to the station on October 30th, 1975, for another questioning about the morning of August 15th, 1975. David told the police that he began picking up the kids at 9:10 am for the first lesson and was back at Trinity Chapel by 9:30 am after dropping off the kids, he said. He had never seen Gretchen, and that he did not even know she was missing until Gretchen's father, Harold Harrington, called him to the Reformed Church at 11:05 a.m. Investigators looked into a number of possible suspects, including some people who lived in the area, and were known to have committed assaults. There was no reason to arrest anyone. For many years, no one knew what happened to Gretchen. The case went cold, and no one knew who killed her. The killing of Gretchen happened in 1975, when Joanna Falcon Sullivan was only 9 years old. At the time, she was born and lived in Broomall, Delaware County. Sullivan was always thinking about the case. She became a seasoned reporter and wrote a true crime book about the investigation into Gretchen's death. Sullivan said that the story had been on her mind for decades. She mentioned that it was where she grew up and explained that her co-author, Mike Mathis, also grew up in Broomall. She further noted that he lived in Lawrence Park when the incident occurred before they met. According to her, they both felt the impact as kids, and many other kids their age did as well. Sullivan began writing the book during the pandemic. It came out in October 2022 as Marple's Gretchen Harrington tragedy. Even though Sullivan's first book was a novel, she said she plans to rewrite this true crime book to include any new information about the case as it happens. Other detectives take over cold cases left by detectives who have retired or died. Sergeant Coffin took over as the main agent in the Gretchen case. Coffin got a message from a woman who called the Marple police to talk about Gretchen. He heard the message while sitting at the Marple Township police headquarters. The woman said she thought she knew who hurt Gretchen and talked about an attempted kidnapping that happened around the same time. She also said that when she was a 10-year-old girl living in Havertown, which is about 3 miles east of Marple, she wrote some of this down in a notebook in the 1970s. After all these years, the woman still had the book in her hands. Sergeant Coffin called the Pennsylvania State Police. The case was still open with the Marple police because Gretchen had been seen last in their area, but once the bodies were found in the state park, the state police took over as the main investigators. Coffin mentioned that he had 4 detectives in his division. The state police have a lot more tools at their disposal. State cops set up a meeting with the woman. In court papers, she is only known by her initials SF and CI number 1, which is how private informants are named. The conversation would be a huge step forward in solving a cold case that had been open for almost 50 years. It is not often that big things happen in cases that have been cold for decades. The woman told the state police on January 2, 2023, that she knew Gretchen and Zoe Harrington, one of Gretchen's sisters, from childhood. She was also friends with Mara and Kristen, David's children, and would often play at their house. She often stayed the night at their house. She told the police that she woke up in the middle of the night at one of these sleepovers when she was 10 and Pastor was touching her improperly. She moved, and he quickly left the room. She said he touched her again the next night. The woman told the girl's mother, Mara, about David's strange behavior when they woke up the next morning. Mara conveyed that it occurred intermittently, explaining, "He does that occasionally, and there have been nights when I hear my sister crying in the middle of the night." When the girl told her parents what had happened, they told her she could no longer sleep over at the Zonster house. Police thought that the event in question happened exactly 1 week before Gretchen disappeared. The anonymous source also told the police about a girl named Holly who lived in the neighborhood and was friends with a child. She said that someone had tried to take Holly away. The following is what she wrote in her diary, which she then gave to the state police. In a note dated September 15, 1975, she mentioned that there had been 2 attempts to take Holly away. She couldn't confide in anyone because it had been a secret, but she suspected that he might have taken Gretchen. She believed it was Mr. Z. She told the police that the Z stood for Zonster. In 1975, David and many other people were questioned by the local police twice. People who saw Gretchen the morning she went missing said they saw her outside of a car talking to someone sitting inside. Some of the descriptions of the car matched David's, but David always said that the day in question was not the day he saw Gretchen. You, the watcher, would have already noticed, though, that there was a strange hole in the investigation that the Marple police never explained. David could give a precise account of the homemade shorts Gretchen was wearing that day, even though he said he had not seen her. The original Marple agent who worked on her case died in June 2020, so there is no longer a reason for the gap in investigations. In June 2023, Georgia State Police found David at a home on a lake in Marietta. He had moved there with his wife. The police officers and David decided to meet at the Cobb County Police Department's main office on July 17, 2020. When the troopers asked David about Gretchen's abduction, he denied having anything to do with it. They then told him the newest accusation, which was that the pastor had abused his own children and a best friend. After that, David Zonster finally told the police what really happened on the morning of August 15, 1975. The day for Delaware County, Jack Stolzheimer talked about David's statement of what happened. David asked Gretchen to get into his green AMC Rambler station car after she was out of her dad's sight. He did not take her to church. Instead, he drove her to a wooded area, stopped the car and told her to take off her clothes. She said she did not want to go and that she wanted to go home. The blow from his hand made Gretchen start to bleed from her head. He took her out of the car and tried to cover her body with sticks after checking her pulse and seeing that she did not seem to be moving. After that, he left and went about his day. The close connection between the Harringtons and the Zonsters led investigators to believe that Zonster had the means, the motivation, and the chance to kill Gretchen. Georgia police arrested David Zonster on July 17, 2023. He is being held in Cobb County right now because bail has been refused. Authorities took a DNA sample from David and compared it to DNA samples from other open cases in Pennsylvania and across the country. Since David worked with kids for decades, police think it is unlikely that he has not been involved in other crimes. Police officer Phil Stoddard in Marietta, Georgia, who watched the interview with David, told a TV crew there that David did not show any emotion while he told the troops what he did. Eugene Trey, a trooper, guided the conversation. Afterward, Trey stated that he didn't know if David felt remorse for his actions, but he did know that this confession provided some relief to him. Delco police arrested 83-year-old David Zonster on Monday, July 24, 2023, in connection with Gretchen's theft and death. The DD for Delaware County, Jack Stolzheimer, remarked that David Zonster was every parent's worst nightmare, and that this horrific act had forever altered a family and a community. Stolzheimer added that he could now confirm that David Zonster had admitted to the crime on that day. The community had been without answers for a long time, but now they were relieved and grateful that they finally had them. It was crucial to remember that most people were good, including most preachers, especially those who professed to be men of God. However, it was also a sad reality that there had always been and would continue to be individuals who were heartless, selfish, and evil. The presence of law enforcement was a source of gratitude as they were there to hold such individuals accountable for their actions. The pursuit of justice for Gretchen would persist for as long as it took, as her life had been tragically cut short, and what had happened to her was indeed terrible. Stolzheimer also indicated that David was opposing his return to Pennsylvania, and his office was in the process of seeking a governor's order to facilitate David's transfer to Delaware County. He stated the district attorney's office will initiate a petition for requisition. Once it receives approval, the Delaware County Sheriff's Office will coordinate David's retrieval and bring him back to Pennsylvania. He further explained this procedure may take up to 2 months. They stated their intention to bring him to trial, secure a conviction, and sentence him to life imprisonment. It was mentioned that he would then have to reckon with the consequences determined by his faith in God, which he claims to believe in. He was accused of causing the death of the young girl through physical violence and maintaining a false account for 48 years. The behavior described was characterized by an attempt to blend in as a member of her family, not only during her funeral and burial but also throughout subsequent years. This statement was made by Marple Township Police Chief Graff at a press conference. People were encouraged to offer their prayers for Gretchen, although it was suggested that she might not require them, as she is believed to be in the care of God. Additionally, it was mentioned that individuals could choose to pray for the wronggoer responsible for the crime, as it was implied that they would require such prayers. In Broomall, Pennsylvania, where Gretchen's case has been going on for almost 48 years, the charges against Zonster have finally put an end to it. The death of Gretchen had changed this town. Before August 1975, it could have been any town in the USA. Everything changed for the kids, their parents, their families, and everyone else after that day. No one could do anything in the same way they did before. As a child, Jim Cristaldi carried newspapers to the Harringtons. He talked fondly about the time before the disappearance, when he and his friends would spend hours building forts in the woods with only the moonlight for light. But as soon as Gretchen went missing, Cristaldi, who was a teenager at the time, joined search parties in those same woods to look for Gretchen or anything that could have led them to her. Lieutenant Jonathan Sunderland of the Pennsylvania State Police stated that their innocence was shattered by these events. He emphasized that justice knows no time constraints, whether the crime occurred in the distant past or more recently. People residing in the Commonwealth can be confident that law enforcement will persist until justice prevails. Sunderland expressed gratitude to the numerous officers who tirelessly worked on the case over the years. He also acknowledged Corporal Andrew Martin of the Criminal Investigation Assessment Unit and the Missing Persons Unit for their significant contributions, attributing today's announcement to Martin's determination to build upon the efforts of those who came before him. Michelle Dellon, the head of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, remarked that the recent announcement highlighted the formidable power of persistence and the unwavering dedication of both a family and a community to seek justice. She stressed that time is not a deterrent when searching for answers. Dallin expressed gratitude to various law enforcement agencies, including the Delaware County District Attorney's Office, the Pennsylvania State Police, the Marple Township Police, their partner police departments, and the Cobb County Police Department for their steadfast commitment to the case. She noted that this achievement serves as a reminder of the importance of protecting children, and her thoughts were with Gretchen's family and all other families seeking answers. The charges against David Zonster include first, second, and third-degree murder, kidnapping a child, and having a weapon of crime. As of September 20, 1965, Zonster was called a minister by the Christian Reformed Church, which can be seen on its website. Between 1965 and 2005, David worked as a pastor at churches in New Jersey, California, and Texas, as well as the Trinity Chapel Christian Reformed Church in Broomall. The Christian Reformed Church said in a statement on Monday that they were sorry for Gretchen Harrington's death and wanted to send their thoughts to her family. It also breaks our hearts to hear that a KRC pastor has been arrested in connection with the case. There is violence everywhere, even in our churches and among the leaders we hold to the highest ideals. Following her husband's arrest, David Zonster's wife, Margaret Zonster, did not reply right away to a request for comment. The people of Marple now have most of the answers they have been looking for decades, but many of them are still upset about the shocking turn of events. It seemed more likely that someone from outside the town had done this. Traveling criminal who had come into town snatched up a girl and then quickly left, taking his evil with him to wherever he went next. Instead, it was a famous religious leader with a wife and 2 young daughters. His wife had brought dinner to the family of the girl he admitted to killing. His Georgian neighbor, Karen Halsdorf, expressed her surprise, mentioning that it had taken her aback. She stated that she had not been aware of the situation and that the Zonster family had consistently been friendly neighbors. Halsdorf recalled that her friendship with the Zonsters had developed through encounters at their mailboxes in the Marietta neighborhood. She further remarked that it was unfortunate to hear about this and that she couldn't even imagine how difficult this must be for their family. Halsdorf believed that Gretchen's family must find some relief in finally learning what had transpired. Tom Grady, currently a Pennsylvania state representative and previously chief of police in Marple Township, conveyed his thoughts to the Delco Times. He referred to the tragic incident that occurred 47 years ago, emphasizing how it had a profound impact on the Marple neighborhood and the entire state of Pennsylvania. Grady noted that this distressing event played a role in the initiation of Amber's Law, which, after a strenuous battle, was ultimately passed. He expressed his satisfaction with this development and expressed hope that the recent developments could offer some solace to the affected family. Share your thoughts about this case in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for future updates. Thanks for watching.